The moment Daniel Hayes joked about marrying his boss at the company's anniversary party, he thought the champagne had gone to his head. But when billionaire CEO Victoria Langford turned those ice blue eyes on him and said, "I accept," he knew his life was about to get complicated. What started as an embarrassing slip of the tongue became a billion-dollar proposition. Marry me for 1 year, save us both from ruin, and walk away clean. Except nothing about this deal would stay clean. Not when a struggling single father meets a woman who's never needed anyone. Not when a fake marriage starts feeling real. And definitely not when a 5-year-old girl decides she wants a mother who doesn't know how to love. If you're watching from anywhere in the world, drop your city in the comments below and hit that like button. I want to see just how far this story travels. Now let's dive in. The fluorescent lights in the Langford Industries break room buzzed like dying insects, casting a sickly glow over the remnants of someone's forgotten lunch. Daniel Hayes stood at the ancient microwave, watching his daughter's mac and cheese rotate in slow circles, his mind elsewhere. Specifically, on the stack of medical bills sitting on his kitchen counter, the ones he'd stopped opening 3 weeks ago because seeing the numbers didn't make them any smaller. 30 seconds, he muttered, as if saying it out loud would make the microwave move faster. It didn't. Behind him, the break room door swung open with enough force to rattle the vending machine. Daniel didn't need to turn around to know it was Marcus from accounting. The guy walked like he was personally offended by floors. "Hayes, you coming to the party tonight?" Daniel pulled his daughter's lunch from the microwave, testing the temperature with his finger. Still cold in the middle. Of course. "What party?" "The company anniversary thing, 20th year or whatever, top floor. Open bar, fancy food, the works." Marcus grabbed an energy drink from the vending machine with the efficiency of someone who'd done it 1,000 times. Langford supposedly making an appearance. Victoria Langford? The actual CEO? No, the other Langford who runs a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Marcus rolled his eyes. Yes, that one. Apparently she shows her face at this thing every year, makes a speech, disappears, like Bigfoot, but in Prada. Daniel stuck the mac and cheese back in the microwave. Another minute. "I've worked here 2 years, and I've never seen her." "That's because you work in the basement doing data entry, my friend. No offense. Some taken. I'm just saying, when you're pulling in what, 40, 45 a year, you don't exactly run in the same circles as the woman who made the Forbes 30 under 30 list at 26. Marcus cracked open his drink. "But tonight, open invitation. You should come. Free food, free booze. When's the last time you had a night out?" Daniel thought about it. Calculated. 2 years, 3 months, and about 16 days. Jesus, that's specific. That's when my wife died. The break room went quiet except for the hum of the microwave. Marcus shifted his weight, suddenly very interested in the ingredient list on his energy drink. "Sorry, man, I didn't eat." "It's fine." Daniel pulled out Lily's lunch, sealed it in a container. "And yeah, I'll come." "Why not? My daughter's got a sleepover at her friend's house anyway. First one since—" He stopped himself. "First one in a while." Marcus brightened immediately, apparently relieved to move past the awkward moment. "Excellent. Starts at 7. Try not to wear that." He gestured at Daniel's outfit, khakis that had seen better days and a button-up that had lost its crispness somewhere around 2019. "What's wrong with this?" "Everything, but we don't have time for that conversation." Marcus headed for the door. 7 o'clock. Top floor. Don't be late. After he left, Daniel stood alone in the break room, holding his daughter's lunch and wondering what the hell he'd just agreed to. The medical bills flashed through his mind again. The ones from the hospital, the ones from the funeral home, the credit card statements that made his stomach hurt. The microwave beeped. He ignored it. Lily Hayes was 5 years old and had opinions about everything. Currently, her opinion was that the purple crayon was superior to all other crayons, and anyone who thought differently was simply wrong. "Daddy, purple is the best color because it's what queens wear, and also it's what magic looks like." She didn't look up from her coloring book, working on what appeared to be a purple horse with wings. Or maybe a dragon. With Lily, it was hard to tell. Daniel knelt beside her at their kitchen table, setting down her lunch. "Is that so?" "Yes, Miss Jenny said so." "Well, if Miss Jenny said it." He kissed the top of her head. "Eat your lunch, baby. I've got to head back to work." "Can I come?" "We've talked about this. You've got your babysitter coming, remember? Mrs. Chen from downstairs? Lily's face fell in that particular way 5-year-olds' faces fell when they didn't get what they wanted, like the world had personally betrayed them. But I like your work. It has the vending machine with the good cookies. Those cookies are stale and overpriced, but they're good. Daniel couldn't argue with that logic. Listen, tomorrow's Saturday. How about we go to the park? Just you and me. We can feed the ducks. The ducks are mean. They bite. Only when you try to pet them. They should want to be petted. They're fluffy. They're wild animals, Lil. She considered this, purple crayon hovering over her dragon horse. Okay, but can we get ice cream after? If you eat all your vegetables this week. That's not fair. There's still 3 whole days left in the week. Daniel stood, ruffling her hair. Life's not fair, kiddo. The sooner you learn that, the better. She looked up at him with those brown eyes, her mother's eyes, and something in his chest twisted. Mommy used to say that. Yeah, she did. I miss her. Me too, baby. Me too. The moment hung there, fragile and painful, until Lily returned to her coloring with the focus only a child could muster, moving from grief to art without missing a beat. Daniel watched her for another second, then grabbed his keys and headed back to work, trying not to think about how much ice cream costs these days. The top floor of Langford Industries looked like something out of a magazine Daniel couldn't afford. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, modern art that probably cost more than his car, and enough white marble to build a small temple. He felt immediately out of place. He'd gone home after work, showered, and put on his best suit, which was really his only suit, purchased for his wedding 7 years ago and worn exactly 3 times since. It was tight in the shoulders now. The jacket didn't quite button right, but it was what he had. Marcus found him near the entrance, already 2 drinks in and looking loose. Hayes, you made it, and you wore something. This is my good suit. Come on, let's get you a drink. You look like you need several. The party was already in full swing, what felt like half the company packed into the space, all drinking champagne they didn't pay for, and eating food with names Daniel couldn't pronounce. He recognized a few faces from his floor, but most of these people were strangers. The ones who worked in offices with doors. The ones who wore suits that actually fit. Marcus thrust a glass into his hand. Champagne, fancy stuff, probably costs more than your monthly rent. That's not hard to do. Daniel took a sip. It tasted like expensive bubbles. So where's the famous CEO? Haven't seen her yet. She usually shows up around 8, does her thing, leaves. Woman's got a schedule tighter than everyone. A voice cut through the crowd, smooth and commanding. If I could have your attention. The room shifted. Conversations died mid-sentence. People turned toward the front of the room where a small stage had been set up, usually reserved for presentations that put half the audience to sleep. But nobody was sleeping now. Victoria Langford stood at the microphone like she'd been born there. 30 years old and looked like she'd stepped out of a business magazine cover shoot, which, according to Marcus's earlier comment, she probably had. Dark hair pulled back in a way that was both severe and elegant. A black dress that probably cost more than Daniel's car, fitted perfectly, no jewelry except a watch that gleamed under the lights. And those eyes, ice blue, sharp enough to cut. 20 years, she said, and the room went absolutely silent. When my father started this company 2 decades ago, he had 12 employees and a dream that most people called foolish. Today, we employ over 1,500 people across 6 states and generate revenue that puts us in the top tier of our industry. That's not luck. That's you. Polite applause. She waited it out. But I'm not here to give you a history lesson. You know where we've been. I'm here to talk about where we're going. She clicked a remote, and a projection appeared behind her. Graphs, numbers, projections that Daniel's data entry-trained eyes immediately started analyzing. Next quarter, we're launching 3 new initiatives. We're expanding into the Pacific Northwest. We're acquiring our largest competitor, and we're restructuring our approach to employee development and advancement. More applause, this time more genuine. People liked hearing about advancement. This company was built on the idea that talent matters more than credentials. That if you work hard, if you bring value, you move up. Not because of who you know or where you went to school, but because you earned it. Her eyes swept the room, and for just a second, Daniel could have sworn they landed on him. That's not changing. If anything, we're doubling down on it. She spoke for another 10 minutes, laying out vision and strategy with the kind of clarity that made Daniel understand why she was running a billion-dollar company at 30. No wasted words, no corporate nonsense, just clear, direct, intelligent planning. When she finished, the applause was thunderous. "Now enjoy the party," Victoria said, stepping away from the microphone. "You've earned it." And just like that, she was done. She disappeared into a side door so quickly that Daniel wondered if he'd imagined the whole thing. "See?" Marcus said, appearing at his elbow with another drink. "Bigfoot in Prada, in and out. She's intense. That's one word for it. I've heard others, Ice Queen, Robot, the Dragon Lady, though that one's both racist and sexist, so we don't use it. But intense works." Marcus drained his glass. "Word is she's even more intense in person, like one-on-one, terrifying." Daniel watched the door she'd disappeared through. "She seemed fine to me." "That's because you were 50 feet away. Trust me, up close, different story." Marcus grabbed another champagne flute from a passing waiter. "Anyway, enough about the boss. Let's eat some of this fancy food before they run out of the good stuff." They spent the next hour doing exactly that. Daniel tried things he couldn't identify, drank champagne that went down way too easy, and slowly started to relax. For the first time in 2 years, he wasn't thinking about bills or grief or whether Lily's shoes still fit. He was just here, at a party, like a normal person. It was nice. Around 9:30, pleasantly buzzed and full of food he couldn't pronounce, Daniel found himself near the windows, looking out over the city. The lights stretched out forever, thousands of lives he'd never know, all doing their own thing. Somewhere out there, Lily was at her sleepover, probably still awake and definitely not following the rules. The thought made him smile. Quite a view. Daniel turned. Victoria Langford stood beside him, appearing as if out of nowhere. Up close, she was somehow both more and less intimidating. More because those eyes were even sharper in person. Less because she was maybe 5'6" in heels, and had the kind of fine bone structure that made her look almost fragile. She wasn't fragile. He knew that much. "Yeah," Daniel managed, his champagne-loosened tongue suddenly remembering how to be nervous. "It's amazing. I don't usually get to see the city from this angle." "You work in the basement." It wasn't a question. Daniel blinked. "How did you—" "I know everyone who works for me. Names, departments, hire dates." She took a sip from her own glass. Water, not champagne. "Daniel Hayes, data analysis, 2 years, 4 months, bachelor's degree in economics from a state school. Previously worked at—" She paused, accessing some mental file. 3 different companies in 4 years. Reference letters were excellent, but your resume showed instability." "My wife was sick." The words came out harder than he intended. "We moved for her treatments." Something flickered across Victoria's face. Not quite sympathy, but something close to it. "I'm sorry. That must have been difficult." "It was." Daniel took a long drink. "But we managed, until we didn't." They stood in silence for a moment, looking out at the city. Daniel had no idea what to say to this woman. She was his boss's boss's boss, probably several more bosses up the chain. He should make small talk, ask about the company, say something intelligent about the projections she'd shown. Instead, his champagne-addled brain said, "So when are you getting married?" Victoria turned to look at him, one eyebrow raised. "Excuse me?" "Sorry, that was... I heard some people talking earlier about how you're 30 and running a company and still single, like that's some kind of scandal. Which is stupid. I just wondered if there was..." He trailed off, realizing he was making it worse. "Never mind. That was inappropriate." "It was," Victoria agreed. "But not wrong. There is pressure. My family has expectations. The board has concerns about optics. Apparently, a single female CEO is either too focused on work to maintain relationships or too distracted by her personal life to run a company effectively. I can't win." "That's ridiculous, but that's business." She took another sip of water. "But to answer your question, no. I'm not getting married. I don't have time for dating, much less a relationship. And most men are intimidated by successful women anyway." "Their loss." The corner of her mouth twitched, almost a smile. "Perhaps." Daniel felt emboldened by champagne and the surprising normality of this conversation. I mean, if you need a husband for optics or whatever, I'm available. Single father, stable job, decent credit score. Well, it was decent before the medical bills. I can cook. I know how to fold fitted sheets. I'm great at weddings. He was joking. Obviously. The kind of joke you make when you're tipsy and talking to someone you'll never talk to again. Victoria didn't laugh. Instead, she turned to face him fully, those ice blue eyes studying him with an intensity that made the champagne buzz evaporate. Are you serious? What? No, I was kidding. Obviously. I mean, we don't even know each other. But you need money. Not a question, a statement. Medical bills from your wife's illness, credit card debt. You're working a job you're overqualified for because it has good health insurance for your daughter. You drive a 12-year-old Honda with a check engine light you're ignoring. You're 2 months behind on rent. Daniel felt his face go cold. How do you know all that? I told you. I know everyone who works for me. She set her water glass down on a nearby table. And I need a husband. Not for love or companionship. I don't have time for either. But my father's will stipulates that I must be married by my 31st birthday to maintain controlling interest in this company. Otherwise, it goes to my uncle, who will run it into the ground within 5 years. That's insane. That's my father. He believed women needed to be settled to be serious. He was wrong about many things. She crossed her arms, a gesture that somehow made her look more formidable despite her small frame. I have 6 months. I've considered options. None of them work. But you're intelligent, clearly desperate, and just made a joke that could be interpreted as a proposal. I'm not asking you to love me, Mr. Hayes. I'm asking you to marry me, legally, for 1 year. In exchange, I'll pay off every debt you have, set up a trust fund for your daughter's education, and give you a salary of $200,000. After the year is up, we divorce quietly. You get a severance package, and we both move on with our lives. Daniel stared at her. The city lights blurred behind her. The party noise faded to white noise. This couldn't be real. People didn't actually do this. This was movie nonsense, romance novel nonsense. You're serious. I don't joke about business, Mr. Hayes. And this is business. She pulled a card from somewhere, he didn't see where, and held it out. Think about it. You have 48 hours. After that, I'll find someone else. Daniel took the card without thinking. Heavy stock, embossed lettering, a phone number, and nothing else. I have a daughter, he said weakly. I know, Lily, 5 years old, attends Brookside Elementary, favorite color is purple. Victoria turned to leave, then paused. I like children, Mr. Hayes. I'm simply not around them often. That wouldn't be a problem. And then she was gone, disappeared back into the crowd like she'd never been there at all. Daniel stood alone by the windows, holding a business card that felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds, and wondered if he'd just had the strangest conversation of his life, or if he'd somehow imagined the whole thing. His phone buzzed, a text from Mrs. Chen. Lily's friend's mom says sleepover going great. Don't worry. He looked at the card, at the number, at the city stretching out before him, full of lights and lives and possibilities he couldn't afford. Jesus, he whispered to no one. Then he went to find Marcus and drink enough champagne to make this night make sense. It didn't work. The next morning arrived with a hangover and a 5-year-old who had apparently consumed her body weight in sugar at the sleepover. Daddy, we stayed up until midnight and watched 2 movies and ate pizza and cupcakes, and Sarah's mom let us paint our nails, and look! Lily thrust her hands in Daniel's face, showing off purple glitter nail polish that was already chipping. Isn't it beautiful? It's very purple, Daniel managed, squinting against the sunlight that felt personally aggressive. Baby, can you maybe use your inside voice? This is my inside voice. It was not. He made it through breakfast, cereal for her, coffee for him, and the promised trip to the park, where Lily did indeed try to pet the ducks, and did indeed almost get bitten. By the time they got home, it was early afternoon and Daniel's head was finally starting to clear. The business card sat on his kitchen counter, where he'd left it last night. He'd looked up Victoria Langford after getting home, read articles, watched interviews, learned that she'd taken over the company at 27 when her father died suddenly. that she'd doubled revenue in 3 years, that she was known for being brilliant, ruthless, and completely uninterested in her personal life. She wasn't lying about her father's will. He found the court documents online. Public record. The old man really had put that stipulation in there. Married by 31 or lose everything. It was medieval, sexist, absolutely insane. And it was real. Daddy, why do you keep staring at that card? Daniel looked down. Lily had appeared at his elbow, still wearing her Duck Park clothes, paint stains and all. It's just something from work, baby. Is it important? I don't know yet. She considered this with the seriousness only children could muster. Well, when you figure it out, can we have ice cream? You promised if I ate my vegetables. It's only been 1 day. I had carrots at Sarah's house. That counts. That absolutely does not count. Does too. Lily. Fine. But can I watch my show? Daniel nodded, and she scampered off to the living room, immediately absorbed in whatever cartoon was currently occupying her attention span. He listened to the familiar theme song, the sound of his daughter's laughter, and thought about the impossible offer. $200,000. All his debts paid. Lily's education secured. 1 year of his life pretending to be married to a woman who probably didn't even like him. He picked up his phone before he could overthink it. The number rang twice. Mr. Hayes, Victoria's voice, crisp and professional even on a Saturday. I was wondering if you'd call. I have questions. Of course you do. Meet me tomorrow, 2 o'clock. There's a coffee shop on 5th and Morrison. Do you know it? I can find it. Good. Come prepared to negotiate. And Mr. Hayes? Yeah? Bring your questions. All of them. This is a contract, and I don't do business with people who don't understand the terms. She hung up. Daniel stood in his kitchen, listening to his daughter laugh at cartoons, and wondered what the hell he was about to do. The answer, he suspected, was something either very smart or incredibly stupid. He wouldn't know which until it was too late. The coffee shop on 5th and Morrison was the kind of place that charged $7 for a latte and acted like they were doing you a favor. Daniel arrived 15 minutes early, ordered the cheapest thing on the menu, black coffee that tasted like it had been brewed sometime last week, and claimed a corner table where he could see the door. He'd barely slept. Spent most of the night staring at his ceiling, running numbers in his head. $200,000. Plus debts paid, plus Lily's education. The math was simple. The decision wasn't. At exactly 2 o'clock, Victoria Langford walked through the door. She looked different than she had at the party. Less severe. Dark jeans that probably cost more than his rent, a cream-colored sweater, hair down around her shoulders instead of pulled back. She could have been anyone. Just another woman grabbing weekend coffee. Except for those eyes. Still sharp. Still analyzing everything. She spotted him immediately, ordered something complicated at the counter, and joined him at the table with a cup that smelled like cinnamon and expensive choices. Mr. Hayes? Daniel. If we're going to talk about getting married, you should probably use my first name. The corner of her mouth twitched. Fair enough, Daniel. She took a sip of her coffee, watching him over the rim. You have questions? About 1,000. Start with the most important. Daniel pulled out the notebook he'd brought. Old habit from his college days, writing things down to make them real. Why me? You could hire anyone, get some actor, pay him to play the part. Why offer this to a random guy at a company party? Because actors talk. They have agents, publicists, careers that depend on exposure. This needs to be airtight. No leaks, no drama, no risk. She set down her cup. You, on the other hand, are desperate, intelligent, and have no connections to media or social circles that matter. You're also honest. Your financial situation is dire, but you haven't embezzled, stolen, or done anything illegal to fix it. That shows character. Or stupidity. Sometimes they're the same thing. She pulled out her own notebook, leather-bound, expensive, organized. You need money. I need a husband. It's a transaction. Clean, simple, mutually beneficial. Except it's marriage. That's not simple. It is if we make it simple. She flipped open her notebook, revealing pages of neat handwriting. I've drafted a preliminary contract. We'll have lawyers finalize it, but here are the basics. We marry legally. You and your daughter move into my home. It's large enough that we'd rarely see each other. We maintain separate lives. You continue working at Langford Industries, though I'd move you to a position more suited to your actual skills. What position? Financial analysis, strategy development. You have an economics degree you're wasting on data entry. Use it. Daniel blinked. You'd promote me. I'd utilize you properly. There's a difference. She continued reading. We appear together at necessary public events, family gatherings, company functions, anywhere the marriage needs to be visible. Otherwise, your time is your own. After 1 year, we divorce. I maintain control of the company. You walk away with enough money to start over properly. And Lily? Victoria's expression shifted slightly. Not quite soft, but something close. Your daughter would be provided for. Private school if you want it, extracurriculars, healthcare, anything she needs. The trust fund I mentioned covers undergraduate and graduate education at any institution she chooses. That's non-negotiable. She gets it regardless of how this arrangement ends. Daniel's throat felt tight. That's incredibly generous. It's fair, she didn't ask for any of this. Neither did you, really. Victoria closed her notebook. I won't pretend to be her mother. I don't know how to be anyone's mother, but I won't mistreat her either. I'm not cruel, Daniel, just practical. He believed her, which was somehow worse than if she'd been lying. What about dating? The question came out before he could stop it. I mean, during the year, are we allowed to see other people? No. The answer was immediate, firm. Absolutely not. If this gets out, if anyone discovers the arrangement, everything falls apart. The board would remove me. My uncle would take over. Everything I've built would be gone. So no dating, no affairs, no romantic entanglements of any kind. We maintain the appearance of a real marriage, which means fidelity, at least publicly. That seems extreme. That's reality. One photograph of either of us with someone else, one overheard conversation, one bitter ex going to the press. It's over. We have to be airtight. She leaned forward. I'm not asking you to love me, Daniel. I'm not even asking you to like me, but I am asking you to commit, fully, for 1 year. Can you do that? Daniel thought about Lily's worn-out shoes, the eviction notice he'd gotten last month, the phone calls from collection agencies he'd stopped answering. Yeah, he said, I can do that. Good. Then let's discuss specifics. They spent the next 2 hours going through details that made Daniel's head spin. Living arrangements. She had a house in the suburbs, old money architecture, enough space that they could maintain separate wings. Financial logistics, a joint account for household expenses, separate accounts for personal use. Public appearances, roughly 1 per month, more during busy social seasons. Lily's schooling, Victoria knew of a private elementary school nearby with an excellent program and, surprisingly, a scholarship fund she personally contributed to. You give money to schools? I give money to a lot of things. Education, women's shelters, medical research. I'm wealthy, Daniel, obscenely so. It would be immoral not to use it for something beyond myself. He hadn't expected that, hadn't expected her to be anything other than the Ice Queen Marcus had described. But here she was talking about scholarship funds and women's shelters like it was normal, like she actually cared. What happened to your parents? The question slipped out, too personal. He waited for her to shut it down. Instead, she took a long sip of her coffee. My mother left when I was 8, decided she didn't want to be married to a man who loved his company more than his family. Can't say I blame her. My father raised me alone, taught me everything about business, nothing about being human. He died 3 years ago, heart attack in his office. Very efficient of him. I'm sorry. Don't be. We weren't close. He respected me, maybe even admired me professionally. But love? She shrugged. That wasn't his strong suit, or mine, apparently. Daniel traced the rim of his coffee cup. My wife, Sarah, she was the opposite. All heart, very little head. Drove me crazy sometimes. She'd give money to every charity that called, adopt every stray animal, bring home strangers who needed help. Our apartment was always full of people I didn't know. Sounds chaotic. It was. But it was good. She made everything feel bigger, more important. He swallowed. When she got sick, she kept trying to give. Even when she couldn't get out of bed, she'd knit blankets for the other cancer patients. Made me promise I'd donate her organs, Anything they could use. She died trying to help people. Victoria was quiet for a moment. She sounds like she was a good person. The best. Daniel looked up. Which is why I need to know, are you going to use this against me? The grief, the desperation. Are you going to hold it over my head? No, Victoria's voice was firm. This is a contract, not blackmail. You're entering this of your own free will. If at any point you want out, we dissolve it. You won't get the full amount, but you'll get enough to stabilize. I'm not interested in trapping you, Daniel. I need a partner, not a prisoner. Okay? He nodded slowly. Okay. I have one more question. Go ahead. What happens if we can't stand each other? What if we try this and it's a disaster? Victoria smiled then, actually smiled. It transformed her face completely. Then we'll be like most married couples, pretending it's fine while quietly resenting each other. Despite everything, Daniel laughed. They finished their coffee talking logistics. Timeline, they'd marry in 2 weeks. Small ceremony, just legal requirements. No big production. Documentation. Victoria's lawyers would handle everything, but Daniel could have his own lawyer review the contract. She'd pay for it. Moving, she'd arrange movers for his apartment. Storage for anything that didn't fit. Lily's transition. They'd tell her the truth, age appropriately, and make sure she had support. What do we tell people? Daniel asked as they stood to leave. Friends, family, coworkers? The truth. We met at the company party, connected, decided to pursue it. Whirlwind romance. People will think it's impulsive, maybe even stupid, but they'll accept it, especially given... She hesitated. Given what? Given that you're a widower with a young daughter. People will think I'm helping you, being charitable. They'll see it as sweet, not suspicious. Daniel wasn't sure how he felt about that. Being pitied. Being seen as the charity case who landed the billionaire CEO. Victoria seemed to read his mind. I know that bothers you. Your pride doesn't like it. But pride doesn't pay bills, Daniel. And this solves both our problems. Yeah. He picked up his jacket. When do I sign? I'll have the contracts ready by Tuesday. We'll meet at my lawyer's office, go through everything line by line, make sure you understand what you're agreeing to. Then we sign, file the marriage license, and start the clock. She held out her hand. Daniel shook it. Her grip was firm, professional, and somehow final. See you Tuesday, then. Tuesday, she confirmed. He watched her leave, climbing into a car that probably cost more than he'd make in 5 years, and wondered what the hell he'd just agreed to. His phone rang. Lily's FaceTime. Daddy! Mrs. Chen made dumplings, and she said I could help, and I only dropped 3 on the floor. That's great, baby. When are you coming home? I miss you. Soon. I'll be home soon. Promise? Promise. He hung up and stood in the parking lot of an overpriced coffee shop, holding a promise he wasn't sure he could keep, about to enter a marriage he didn't want, for reasons that made perfect sense and no sense at all. 2 weeks later, Daniel Hayes married Victoria Langford in a courthouse ceremony that lasted 15 minutes. Lily wore her favorite purple dress. Victoria wore a simple navy suit. Daniel wore the same suit from the party, still tight in the shoulders. The judge was efficient, professional, and clearly didn't care about the story behind 2 strangers getting married on a Tuesday afternoon. Do you, Victoria Langford, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband? I do. And do you, Daniel Hayes, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife? Daniel looked at Victoria. She looked back, expression neutral, waiting. I do. Then by the power vested in me by the state, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss if you'd like. They didn't. Just shook hands again, signed papers, and walked out into the afternoon sunlight as legally married strangers. Lily grabbed Victoria's hand. Are you my mom now? Victoria looked down at the 5-year-old, clearly out of her depth. I'm your father's wife. You can call me Victoria. Can I call you Vicky? Absolutely not. What about V? Also no. Victoria's a long name. It's 3 syllables. You'll manage. Lily considered this, then seemed to accept it. Okay. But can we get ice cream? Daddy said if I was good at the wedding, we could get ice cream. Daniel hadn't said that. Lily was negotiating. Already. Victoria surprised him by saying, "Yes, ice cream sounds acceptable." They went to a shop nearby. Lily got chocolate with sprinkles. Daniel got vanilla. Victoria ordered nothing, just sat at the small table watching Lily attack her cone with the intensity only children brought to sugar. "She's energetic," Victoria observed. "That's putting it mildly." "Do you regret it, having a child so young?" Daniel looked at his daughter, chocolate already on her face. "Never. Not once. She's the best thing I ever did." "Even with everything you've lost?" "Especially because of it." He grabbed a napkin, wiped Lily's face despite her protests. "Sarah and I had her when we were 26, young, broke, terrified. But Lily made everything worth it, every hard moment, every sacrifice. She's my whole world." Victoria watched them with an expression Daniel couldn't read. Not quite longing, but something adjacent to it, like she was seeing something she'd never considered wanting. "I never thought about children," she said quietly. "My father always said they were a distraction, that successful women had to choose, career or family, never both." "Your father was wrong about a lot of things." "Yes, he was." They finished their ice cream in comfortable silence. Lily chattered about her new school. She'd start Monday, already excited about the art program Victoria had mentioned. The uniform, purple plaid, had sealed the deal. Afterward, they drove to Victoria's house. Daniel's apartment had been packed up yesterday, his few belongings already moved. This was it, the new life. The house was exactly what he'd expected. Old money architecture, perfectly maintained, the kind of place that appeared in magazines about successful people. Large yard, tall windows, a driveway that could fit 6 cars. It was beautiful. It was also completely intimidating. "The West Wing is yours," Victoria said, leading them inside. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, sitting room. Lily's room is already set up. I had decorators work from photos of her old room. If she doesn't like it, we can change it. They walked through hallways that echoed, past rooms full of furniture that looked expensive and uncomfortable. Everything was pristine. Perfect. Nothing was out of place. Then they reached Lily's room. It was purple. Floor to ceiling, every shade imaginable. Purple walls, purple curtains, purple bedding covered in stars. Her toys were already arranged, her books on shelves, her stuffed animals lined up on the bed. It looked like her old room, but better. Bigger. More. "You did this?" Daniel asked. "I hired people who did this. I just provided the specifications." Victoria knelt down to Lily's level. "Do you like it?" Lily's eyes were huge. "It's the most beautiful room in the whole world." "Good. It's yours. There's also a playroom down the hall, and the backyard has a swing set. Your father mentioned you like swinging." "You got a swing set?" "I had one installed, yes." Lily launched herself at Victoria in a hug that nearly knocked her over. Victoria froze, clearly not expecting it, arms awkwardly hovering before she finally, carefully, returned the embrace. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." "You're welcome." Lily released her and immediately ran to explore, leaving the 2 adults alone. "You didn't have to do all this," Daniel said. "I know, but she's 5 and her life just got upended. The least I could do was make her room nice." Victoria stood, brushing off her pants. "Your room is next door. Same setup. Bedroom, bathroom, sitting area. There's an office down the hall if you need workspace. Kitchen is communal, though I'm rarely home for meals. The housekeeper, Mrs. Kim, comes 3 times a week. She cooks if you want, or you can use the kitchen yourself." "Housekeeper, right. Of course you have a housekeeper. I have several staff members. You'll meet them. They're all discreet and well compensated. They won't question the arrangement." She checked her watch. "I have a conference call in 20 minutes. Will you be all right settling in?" "Yeah, we'll be fine." Victoria nodded, started to leave, then paused. "Daniel?" "Yeah?" "Thank you for doing this." Before he could respond, she was gone. Daniel stood in the hallway of a mansion he now apparently lived in, listening to his daughter squeal over purple walls, and tried to process the fact that he was married to a woman he'd known for 2 weeks. The first few days were strange. Daniel woke up in a bed too comfortable, in a room too large, in a house too quiet. Victoria left early every morning. He'd hear her car before sunrise, and returned late. They'd pass each other in hallways, exchange polite greetings, and retreat to their separate lives. Lily adjusted faster than he did. The new school, the new room, the new everything. She took it all in stride, made friends immediately, came home chattering about art class and the library and how her teacher, Miss Roberts, was the nicest person ever. Daniel started his new position Monday. Financial analysis for the strategy development team. It was exactly what he should have been doing all along. Complex problems, real challenges, using his brain for more than data entry. His new boss, a sharp woman named Patricia Chen, took one look at his first week's work and said, "Where the hell have they been hiding you?" Basement. Data entry. Criminal. You're wasted there. What's your background? Economics degree. 3 years at Mercer doing market analysis before, he hesitated. Before life happened? Patricia finished. Yeah, I read your file. I'm sorry about your wife, but I'm glad you're here now. You're good at this. The work helped. Gave him something to focus on besides the weird limbo of his personal life. He'd come home, help Lily with homework, make dinner in a kitchen 3 times the size of his old apartment, and try not to think about the fact that his wife was a stranger who lived down the hall. The first public appearance came 2 weeks after the wedding. A charity gala, black tie, the kind of event Daniel had only seen in movies. Victoria sent a tailor to the house, got him fitted for a proper tux. Sent a stylist for Lily, who was invited because the event was family-friendly. Do I have to wear a dress? Lily asked, eyeing the options the stylist laid out. You can wear whatever you want, the stylist said. Dress, pants, suit, what makes you comfortable? Lily pointed to a purple velvet suit jacket with matching pants. That. Excellent choice. The night of the gala, Daniel barely recognized his daughter. She looked older, more polished, hair done up in a style that Sarah would have loved. He felt a pang of grief so sharp it nearly took his breath away. You okay? Victoria appeared in his doorway wearing a floor-length silver gown that probably cost more than his car. Her hair was up, makeup minimal, but perfect. She looked like she'd stepped out of a magazine. Yeah, Sarah would have loved seeing Lily dressed up like this. Victoria's expression softened. I'm sure she would have. She checked her watch. Car's here. Ready? As I'll ever be. The gala was overwhelming. Hundreds of people, all rich, all connected, all watching as Victoria introduced her new husband and stepdaughter. Daniel shook more hands than he could count, smiled until his face hurt, and tried not to feel like a fraud. Lily, predictably, charmed everyone. Talked about her new school, her purple room, how Victoria had gotten her a swing set. People ate it up. The widower father, the generous stepmother, the adorable child. It was a perfect story. They're buying it, Daniel muttered to Victoria during a rare moment alone. Of course they are. It's a good story. And you're selling it well. I feel like a liar. You're married to me. You live in my house. You're raising your daughter with my support. None of that is a lie. The reasons might be unconventional, but the facts are real. She took his hand, first time she'd touched him voluntarily since the courthouse. Just get through tonight. You're doing fine. Her hand was warm, smaller than Sarah's had been. He squeezed it once, surprised when she squeezed back. They made it through the evening. Lily fell asleep in the car on the way home. Daniel carried her upstairs, got her changed into pajamas, tucked her into the purple bed she already loved. Did I do good tonight? She mumbled, half asleep. You did great, baby. I like Victoria. She's nice. Yeah? Yeah. She doesn't treat me like I'm little. She talks to me like I'm real. Daniel kissed her forehead. Get some sleep. Love you, Daddy. Love you too. He found Victoria in the kitchen, heels off, dress still on, making tea. She looked tired, more human than he'd seen her. Want some? She offered. Sure. They sat at the kitchen island, drinking tea in silence. Outside, the yard was dark except for landscape lighting. Everything was still, quiet, almost peaceful. Lily says you're nice, Daniel said. I'm not particularly. She thinks you are. Says you don't treat her like she's little. Because she's not. She's intelligent, articulate, and capable of actual conversation. Why would I talk down to her? Victoria took a sip of tea. Besides, I like her. She's honest. Most adults I meet are performing all the time. Lily just is. That's kids for you. I suppose. Victoria set down her cup. You did well tonight. I know that wasn't easy. Thanks. You too. Very convincing billionaire wife. I am a billionaire wife. No convincing required. Fair point. They finished their tea. Victoria rinsed the cups, efficient even in her exhaustion. Good night, Daniel. Good night, Victoria. He watched her leave, silver gown trailing behind her, and realized that for the first time since this started, he didn't feel quite so much like a stranger in this house. It was progress. Small, but real. And maybe that was enough for now. The routine established itself over the next few weeks without either of them really planning it. Victoria left before dawn, returned after dark. Daniel got Lily ready for school, worked his new position, picked her up, helped with homework, made dinner. Sometimes Victoria made it home in time to eat with them. Sometimes she didn't. When she did, Lily dominated the conversation with stories about her day, and Victoria listened with the kind of focused attention most adults couldn't manage. Daniel noticed she never looked at her phone during dinner, never checked her watch, just listened. Miss Roberts says I'm advanced in reading, Lily announced one Thursday evening, twirling pasta on her fork. She wants me to join the upper grade book club. That's excellent, Victoria said. What are they reading? Chapter books, big ones, with no pictures. Sounds challenging. I like challenges. Lily took a bite, chewed thoughtfully. Do you like challenges? I do. My whole job is solving problems that other people can't. That's what Daddy says about his new job, too. He says he fixes broken things. Victoria glanced at Daniel. Is that how you describe financial analysis? To a 5-year-old? Yeah. He refilled Lily's water glass. She asked what I do all day. I said I find problems in numbers and fix them. That's actually not a bad description. I try. After dinner, Lily went to practice her reading while Daniel cleaned up. Victoria surprised him by staying, drying dishes as he washed. They worked in silence for a few minutes before she spoke. Patricia says you're exceptional. She wants to put you on the Meridian account. Daniel nearly dropped the plate he was holding. The Meridian account was huge, multi-million-dollar client, complex portfolio, high profile. I've been in the position for 3 weeks. Well, and you've already identified inefficiencies in 2 major client portfolios that saved the company a combined $400,000. Patricia's not sentimental. If you're good, she'll use you. Victoria set down the dish towel. But it's your choice. If you think it's too much too fast, say no. I'm not going to say no. I didn't think you would. She almost smiled. You're better than you think you are, Daniel. You always have been. You just needed someone to see it. The comment sat between them, heavier than it should have been. Daniel turned back to the sink, hands in soapy water, and tried to figure out what to say. Thank you, he managed, for the opportunity, for all of this. You're earning it. I didn't do you a favor. I made a business decision. You're proving it was the right one. She left him alone in the kitchen, and Daniel finished the dishes, wondering when Victoria's pragmatism had started feeling less like coldness and more like honesty. The first real crack in their careful arrangement came on a Saturday morning 6 weeks into the marriage. Daniel woke to Lily screaming. He ran down the hall in his pajamas, heart hammering, sure something terrible had happened. Found Lily in the bathroom, tears streaming down her face, Victoria kneeling beside her in a silk robe looking completely out of her depth. What happened? Daniel pushed into the small space. I don't know, Victoria said. She woke up, came in here and started crying. I heard her from my room. Lily, baby, what's wrong? It hurts, Lily sobbed, clutching her stomach. My tummy hurts and there's blood and I'm dying. Daniel's panic spiked before his brain caught up. Blood. Stomach pain. 5-year-old girl. He knelt down, checked quickly, and felt his heart rate slow. Not dying. Just early. Way too early, but not dangerous. You're not dying, sweetheart. You're okay. There's blood. I know. It's normal. It's, He looked at Victoria helplessly. This was definitely not a conversation he'd expected to have for another 6 or 7 years. Victoria recovered faster than he did. She stood, grabbed a washcloth, ran it under warm water. Lily, look at me. You're not dying. You're not sick. What's happening is normal. It's part of growing up. But I'm only 5. I know. Sometimes it happens early. It's okay. She handed Lily the warm washcloth. Here, press this against your stomach. It'll help with the pain. Lily took the washcloth, still crying but less panicked. Are you sure I'm not dying? Positive. Your father and I would never let anything bad happen to you. Victoria sat on the bathroom floor, expensive robe and all, completely unfazed by the tile. When I was your age, I broke my arm falling off a swing. I thought I was dying too. Turned out I was just hurt and scared. This is like that. Scary, but not dangerous. What do I do? First we get you cleaned up, then we get you some medicine for the pain, then we talk about what's happening and why. Victoria looked at Daniel. I can handle this if you're uncomfortable. I'm her father. You're a good father, but I'm a woman who's been dealing with this for 20 years. Let me help. Daniel wanted to argue, wanted to insist he could handle it, but the truth was he had no idea what to do. Sarah would have known. Sarah would have had this handled in 5 minutes, but Sarah wasn't here. Okay, he said quietly. Thank you. Victoria nodded. Go make breakfast. Something easy on her stomach. Toast, maybe some fruit. We'll be down in a bit. He left them there, Victoria talking to Lily in a calm, matter-of-fact voice that somehow made everything seem less terrifying. In the kitchen, Daniel made toast with shaking hands and tried not to think about how young his daughter was, how much she'd already lost, how many more moments like this he'd have to navigate alone. Except he wasn't alone. Not right now. 20 minutes later, Victoria and Lily appeared. Lily looked better, cleaned up, wearing fresh pajamas, holding Victoria's hand. She climbed into her chair at the kitchen table and took a piece of toast. Victoria says this happens to all girls, Lily said, like she was reporting scientific findings. And it means my body is working right. That's true, Daniel managed. She also says it's going to happen every month for a really long time, which seems like a lot, but she says you get used to it. You do, Victoria confirmed, sitting beside her. It's annoying, but manageable. She knows a lot about bodies. I read a lot about bodies, Victoria corrected. There's a difference. Lily ate her toast in silence for a moment, then looked up at Victoria with those serious brown eyes. Can you teach me? About all the stuff that's going to happen? Daddy's really nice, but he doesn't know about girl things. Daniel watched Victoria's expression shift, saw something vulnerable flash across her face before she controlled it. Yes, Victoria said. I can teach you. Promise? I promise. Lily smiled, apparently satisfied, and returned to her breakfast. Daniel caught Victoria's eye across the table. She looked shaken. Not much, but enough that he could tell. After Lily went to watch cartoons, Daniel found Victoria in her study, staring at her laptop without actually working. Thank you, he said from the doorway. For this morning, I would have panicked. You were panicking. Fair, but you didn't. You just handled it. Victoria closed her laptop. My mother left when I was 8. After that, I had to figure things out myself. Books, mostly. The internet. I learned early that if you want to understand something, you research it. Remove the mystery, remove the fear. Still, you were good with her. Natural, even. I wasn't natural. I was terrified I'd say the wrong thing and traumatize her. Victoria rubbed her temples. But she needed someone to not fall apart, so I didn't fall apart. Daniel stepped into the study, leaned against the desk. She asked you to teach her about growing up. That's not part of our contract. No, it's not. You don't have to, I want to. The words came out sharp, defensive, then softer. She shouldn't have to figure it out alone like I did. And you're right. You don't know about girl things. Someone needs to. Okay. Daniel nodded. Thank you. Really? Victoria stood, walked to the window overlooking the backyard. When I agreed to this arrangement, I thought it would be simple. Legal marriage, separate lives, minimal interaction. I didn't expect... She trailed off. Didn't expect what? To care. She said it quietly, like an admission. About her. About whether she's okay. I didn't plan for that. Daniel moved to stand beside her. Yeah, I didn't plan for a lot of this either. They stood there, watching Lily play on the swing set through the window, both of them dealing with the fact that their careful, controlled arrangement was becoming something messier, something real. The corporate crisis hit 2 weeks later. Daniel was in a strategy meeting when Patricia's assistant burst in, breathless. We need Daniel Hayes in the executive conference room. Now. I'm in the middle of, Now. Victoria's orders. He followed her upstairs, confused and increasingly worried. The executive floor was chaos. People running between offices, phones ringing, voices raised. The assistant led him to the main conference room, where Victoria stood at the head of a massive table, surrounded by executives who all looked various shades of panicked. Daniel, good. She gestured him over. We have a problem. Explain what you found in the Cortez account. I'm sorry, what? The irregularities you flagged last week. The ones you told Patricia about. Explain them to everyone here. Daniel's mind raced. He'd found some weird patterns in one of their oldest client accounts, Cortez Industries, a manufacturing conglomerate that had been with Langford for 15 years. Numbers that didn't quite add up. Nothing obviously wrong, just off. There are discrepancies in the quarterly reports, he said, moving to the display screen. The revenue projections don't match the actual cash flow. Not by much, 2, maybe 3%, but consistent, every quarter for the past 3 years. And what does that suggest? Victoria asked. Someone's cooking the books. Either Cortez is lying to us about their financials, or someone internal is skimming. The room went silent. An older man Daniel didn't recognize, gray suit, cufflinks that cost more than Daniel's car, leaned forward. This is absurd. Cortez has been with us for 15 years. Their CFO is Richard Harmon, Victoria interrupted, who happens to be my Uncle Marcus's college roommate, who was recommended for this account by my uncle, who has been managing it with minimal oversight because we trusted the relationship. The silence got heavier. How much? Someone asked. If Daniel's numbers are right, and they appear to be, approximately $12 million over 3 years. Someone swore. Multiple people started talking at once. Victoria let it go for 30 seconds, then cut through the noise with a single word. Stop! Everyone stopped. We don't have time for panic. We have maybe 6 hours before Cortez's board meeting where they're expected to announce their quarterly earnings. If those numbers are fraudulent, and we certified them, we're liable. If we don't act now, we're complicit. She looked at Daniel. Can you prove it? Give me access to the full account. All documentation. I need 2 hours. You have 90 minutes. Richard, James, help him. Everyone else, start damage control protocols. Contact our lawyers. Prepare statements. Move. The room emptied in seconds. Daniel found himself at a computer terminal with 2 senior analysts he'd never met, pulling up files and running numbers while his heart tried to beat out of his chest. 87 minutes later, he had it. The pattern was beautiful in its simplicity. Quarterly reports with revenue inflated just enough to justify management bonuses. Cash flow diverted through subsidiary accounts that technically existed but never quite balanced. It had been going on for years, millions of dollars, carefully skimmed, expertly hidden. Got it, Daniel said. Victoria appeared at his shoulder. He hadn't heard her come in. Show me. He walked her through it. Watched her face go hard, then cold, then absolutely furious. My uncle recommended him, she said quietly. This whole time, my uncle has been part of it. We don't know that. Yes, we do. Marcus isn't smart enough to hide fraud this sophisticated, but he's absolutely willing to take a cut. She pulled out her phone, made a call. Security, I need you to lock down Richard Harmon's office. Everything. He doesn't touch a single file. If he resists, call the police. She hung up, made another call. Paul? Victoria. I need you to file an emergency audit request with the SEC. Yes, tonight. Cortez Industries. Full financial review. Pause. Because we just discovered $12 million in fraud, and I'm not going down for someone else's crime. Daniel watched her work, making calls, giving orders, her voice never rising but carrying absolute authority. This was Victoria Langford in her element, not the woman who made tea in the kitchen or sat on bathroom floors comforting scared 5-year-olds. This was the CEO who'd built an empire. And she was terrifying. By midnight, the authorities were involved. By 2 a.m., arrests were being made. By dawn, it was all over the news. Langford Industries had uncovered massive fraud in one of their major accounts and reported it themselves, avoiding complicity and actually helping prosecute the criminals. Daniel stumbled home at 7 in the morning, exhausted and wired, to find Lily eating breakfast and Victoria already dressed for another day. "Daddy!" Lily ran to hug him. "You're on TV." "What?" Victoria gestured to the small television in the kitchen, currently showing a news report. Daniel's employee photo was on the screen. When had they gotten that? With a headline, "Langford Industries Analyst Uncovers Fraud." "Oh no." "Oh yes," Victoria said. "You're officially a minor celebrity. Patricia's already fielding interview requests." "I don't want to do interviews." "Too bad. You're doing them. This is good press for the company, and you earned it." She poured him coffee. "You also earned a promotion. Executive analyst, effective immediately, 60% raise. You start Monday." Daniel took the coffee, too tired to process. "I just wanted to do my job." "You did. Better than anyone expected, including me." Victoria checked her watch. "I have a board meeting in an hour. Lily, finish your breakfast. Daniel, get some sleep. We'll talk tonight." She left in her usual efficient way. Lily went back to her cereal. Daniel stood in the kitchen, holding coffee and watching the news replay his photo, and wondered when his life had become this strange. That evening, he found Victoria in the study, working through papers with the kind of focus that meant she'd been at it for hours. "Your uncle," Daniel said from the doorway. "Did they arrest him?" "Not yet. He's smart enough to have distance from the actual fraud, but his reputation is destroyed. He'll resign from the board within a week." She set down her pen. "He tried to call me 4 times. I didn't answer." Family's complicated. Family is people who share your DNA and occasionally make your life harder. She leaned back in her chair. "My uncle has been trying to undermine me since I took over this company. This was his latest attempt. Use his old friend to siphon money, make me look incompetent, force a board vote. If you hadn't found those discrepancies, someone else would have." "No, they wouldn't have. You saw patterns others missed because you actually looked." "Most people don't look, Daniel. They trust systems and processes and assume everything works. You questioned it." She met his eyes. "You saved this company. You saved me." "I was just doing my job. Stop minimizing it. You were brilliant. Own it." The praise hit harder than it should have. Daniel looked away, uncomfortable with how much he wanted to hear her say it again. "Thank you," he managed. "You're welcome." Victoria returned to her papers. "Now go spend time with your daughter. She's been asking about you all day." Daniel found Lily in her room, building something elaborate with blocks. She looked up when he entered, face lighting up. "Daddy, are you famous now?" "Definitely not famous. The TV said you were a hero." "The TV exaggerates." He sat on the floor beside her. "What are you building?" "A castle. For princesses who don't need princes to save them." "Sounds like a good castle." Victoria says princesses should save themselves. She says waiting for someone else to fix your problems is inefficient. Daniel laughed. "That sounds like something she'd say." "Is she okay? She seemed sad at breakfast." "She's dealing with work stuff, adult problems." "Bad problems?" "Yeah, but she's handling them. She's good at handling things." Lily considered this, adding another block to her castle. "I'm glad you married her." "Yeah?" "Yeah. She's different from Mommy, but that's okay." Mommy was soft and warm. Victoria is sharp. But sharp can be good too, like scissors. They cut things, but you need them. Daniel stared at his daughter, wondering when she'd gotten so wise. "You're right," he said. "Sharp can be very good." They built the castle together until Lily started yawning. Daniel tucked her into bed, purple blankets pulled up to her chin, and kissed her forehead. "Love you, baby." "Love you too, Daddy." She yawned again. "Tell Victoria I love her too." Daniel froze. "What?" "Tell her I love her. She won't know unless someone tells her. That's what you always say." "Lily, you don't have to." "I know, but I want to. She's nice to me. She teaches me things. She makes you smile more. That's what families do." After Lily fell asleep, Daniel went looking for Victoria. Found her still in the study, now on the phone with someone, arguing about legal strategy. He waited in the doorway until she hung up. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Lily wanted me to tell you something." What? She loves you. The words felt strange in his mouth, too big, too meaningful for their arrangement. I tried to tell her she didn't have to say things like that, but she insisted. Said you should know. Victoria went very still. She said that? Exact words. Tell Victoria I love her too. Who? Victoria repeated. Implying she knows I... She stopped, shook her head. She's 5. She doesn't understand what she's saying. She understands perfectly. She said you're like scissors, sharp but necessary. Scissors. It made sense when she explained it. Victoria turned away, facing the window. Daniel could see her reflection, the careful control slipping, something raw underneath. I can't, she said quietly. I can't let her love me. This arrangement has an end date. In 6 months, we divorce. She can't... I know. Daniel moved closer. I know what the contract says, but Lily doesn't care about contracts. She cares about people who are kind to her. And you've been kind. I've been adequate. You've been more than adequate. You've been present. You've been patient. You sat on a bathroom floor and explained things I couldn't explain. You promised to teach her about growing up. That's not adequate, Victoria. That's parenting. I'm not her parent. No. But you're something. And she feels it. And maybe... He hesitated, knowing he was about to step over a line they'd carefully drawn. Maybe that's not a bad thing. Victoria turned to face him. What are you saying? I'm saying I don't know what we're doing anymore. This was supposed to be simple, a business arrangement, but it's not simple, is it? Not when Lily's involved, not when we're eating dinner together and talking about our days, not when you save my career and I help save your company. Daniel, I'm not asking for anything, he said quickly. I'm just acknowledging what's happening. We're becoming something other than what we planned. And I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's real. They stood there, the study quiet except for the distant hum of the house settling. Victoria looked at him with those ice-blue eyes, and Daniel saw the moment she made a decision. I don't know how to do this, she admitted. The business part, the contract, that I understand. But this? Caring about people? I'm terrible at it. I'll disappoint her. I'll disappoint you. Or you won't. You don't know until you try. That's a terrible business strategy. Good thing this isn't business. Victoria almost smiled. No, I suppose it's not. She walked past him, stopped at the doorway, looked back. For what it's worth, I'm glad I picked you. Out of all the people I could have made this deal with, I'm glad it was you. Then she was gone, leaving Daniel alone in the study, wondering what the hell they were doing and whether he was brave enough to see it through. The shift happened gradually, then all at once. Victoria started coming home earlier. Not every night, but enough that Lily began setting 3 places at the table without being asked. They'd eat together, talk about their days, and Daniel would catch himself watching Victoria explain quarterly earnings to a 6-year-old using blocks and stuffed animals, wondering when this became normal. So the purple bear is the investor, Lily said seriously, arranging her toys, and the rabbit is the company. Correct. And when the bear gives the rabbit money, what does the rabbit owe? Return on investment. Lily said it like she was ordering ice cream, which means the rabbit has to make more money than the bear gave them, or the bear gets mad. Essentially, yes. Daniel looked up from the dishes. Are you teaching my daughter about venture capital? She asked how businesses work. I'm answering her question. She's 6. She's intelligent. Age is irrelevant. Victoria turned back to Lily. What happens if the rabbit can't pay back the bear? The bear takes the rabbit's stuff? Close. The bear takes ownership of the company. The rabbit loses control. That's sad. That's capitalism. Daniel dried his hands, came to sit at the table. Maybe we could teach her something less depressing, like, I don't know, art? Music? She's already in art class, and she told me yesterday she thinks music theory is boring. I said the recorder is boring, Lily corrected. Miss Chen makes us play Hot Cross Buns every day. It's the worst song ever. Understandable, Victoria said. Most elementary music programs are uninspired. Can I learn piano instead? Victoria glanced at Daniel, who shrugged. There's a piano in the East Parlor, Victoria said. I haven't played in years, but it's maintained. If your father agrees, I can arrange lessons. Please, Daddy? How was he supposed to say no to that? Fine, but you have to practice. I will, I promise. Lily hugged Victoria impulsively. Thank you. Victoria patted her back awkwardly, still not quite comfortable with the casual affection, but trying. That was the thing Daniel noticed most. She was trying. Learning how to be around them. How to exist in a space that wasn't work or solitude. After Lily went to bed, Daniel found Victoria at the piano, running her fingers over the keys without pressing them. When did you stop playing? He asked. When my father died. He's the one who insisted I learn, said it was what cultured people did. After he was gone, I didn't see the point. She pressed one key. Middle C. The sound hung in the air. Lily reminds me of myself sometimes. Curious about everything, wanting to understand how things work. You were like that as a kid? I was relentless, drove my tutors insane with questions. My father appreciated it, said it would make me a good businesswoman. My mother found it exhausting. Victoria played a simple scale. I think that's part of why she left. I wasn't the daughter she wanted. Too intense, too much. Daniel leaned against the piano. Her loss. Perhaps. Another scale, this one more complex. Sarah was different, wasn't she? From me. It was the first time Victoria had said his late wife's name. Daniel felt something twist in his chest. Yeah, Sarah was all heart, very little head. Made decisions based on feelings, not logic. Drove me crazy sometimes, but also, it balanced me. I overthink everything. She just did things. Do you miss that? Every day. He watched Victoria's hands on the keys. But I'm learning there are different kinds of balance, different kinds of good. Victoria stopped playing. Are you saying I balance you? I'm saying you challenge me, make me think harder, work better. Be better at things I didn't know I could be better at. He paused. Is that strange, given the circumstances? Everything about this is strange. But no, it's not unwelcome. They stood there in the quiet, surrounded by the ghost of music Victoria used to play, and Daniel felt the contract between them becoming something else entirely, something neither of them had words for yet. The first real fight happened 3 weeks later. Daniel came home from work to find Lily crying in her room and Victoria nowhere to be found. Mrs. Kim, the housekeeper, looked uncomfortable when he asked what happened. Miss Langford and Lily had a disagreement. Miss Langford left for a meeting. Lily has been in her room since. Daniel took the stairs 2 at a time, found his daughter face down on her purple bed, sobbing into a pillow. Baby, what happened? Victoria's mean. Lily's voice was muffled. She's mean, and she doesn't care about anyone. Lily, sit up. Talk to me. It took 10 minutes to get the full story. Lily's class was doing a Mother's Day project. Everyone was supposed to bring their mom to school for a special presentation. Lily had asked Victoria to come. Victoria had said no. She had an important board meeting that day, couldn't reschedule. It wasn't possible. She said work was more important than me, Lily sobbed. Just like you said Mommy said about Grandpa, that he always picked work over people. Daniel felt anger flash hot in his chest. He kept his voice calm. Okay, we'll figure this out. Let me talk to her. She won't listen. She doesn't care. She cares, baby. She just doesn't always show it right. He waited until Lily cried herself to sleep, then went hunting for Victoria. Found her in the study, exactly where he expected, working through papers like nothing had happened. We need to talk, he said from the doorway. Victoria didn't look up. I'm busy. I don't care. Lily's upstairs crying because you told her your board meeting is more important than her school thing. It is more important. The board meeting determines the company's direction for the next quarter. Her school presentation is important to her. Daniel stepped into the room. She asked you to be there as her mother. I'm not her mother. You're the closest thing she has to one. And you told her no. Victoria set down her pen, finally meeting his eyes. I have responsibilities, Daniel. I can't simply rearrange my schedule because a 6-year-old wants me at a school event. Yes, you can. You're the CEO. You can do whatever you want. That's not how it works. That's exactly how it works. You just don't want to. Daniel felt his control slipping. You know what she said? She said, you're just like your father. Work over everything. Is that what you want? To be the person your father was? Victoria stood, face going cold. You don't know anything about my father. I know he was a terrible parent. I know he made you feel like the only thing that mattered was the company. And I know you're repeating that with Lily. I'm not repeating anything. I'm being realistic. I have obligations. So did he. And he chose them over you every single time. Now you're doing the same thing to a little girl who's already lost her mother. Do you have any idea how much damage you're doing? I didn't sign up to be her mother. The words came out sharp, loud. Victoria's composure cracked. I signed up for a marriage contract, legal arrangement. I never agreed to parent your child. That's not my responsibility. Then what are you doing? Teaching her about business? Playing with her? Promising to help her grow up? What is all of this if you're not going to show up when it matters? I show up. I provide for her. I give her everything she needs. Except yourself. That's the one thing she actually wants, and you won't give it to her. Victoria grabbed her bag, her keys. I don't have time for this. I have a meeting. Of course you do, because work is easier than feelings, easier than admitting you actually care about someone. She stopped at the door, hand on the frame. You don't understand. Then explain it to me. I can't care about her. Victoria's voice was quieter now, strained. I can't let myself care because in 4 months, this ends. We divorce. I go back to my life. And if I let myself love her, if I let her love me, it's going to destroy us both when I leave. So your solution is to hurt her now instead? My solution is to maintain boundaries, to be kind but distant, to not create attachments that will cause more pain later. That's not kindness, Victoria. That's cowardice. She flinched like he'd hit her. I have to go. And she did, leaving Daniel alone in the study, angry and hurt, and realizing they just crossed a line they couldn't uncross. He went back to check on Lily, found her still asleep, tear tracks on her cheeks, clutching a stuffed bear Victoria had bought her last month. Looking at his daughter's face, Daniel felt the full weight of what he'd done. He'd brought Lily into this arrangement, let her get attached to someone who'd made it clear from the beginning that this was temporary. The contract had seemed so simple 6 months ago. Now it felt like a bomb waiting to explode. Victoria didn't come home that night, or the next. On the 3rd day, Daniel got a text. Staying at the office, need space, tell Lily I'm sorry. He showed Lily the message. She read it carefully, then handed back the phone. Is she coming back? I don't know, baby. Did I make her leave? No, this is adult stuff. Complicated stuff. It's not your fault. But Lily looked unconvinced. She was quieter the next few days, less enthusiastic about school, stopped asking when Victoria would be home. Daniel threw himself into work, trying not to think about the empty chair at dinner or the piano that no one played. Patricia noticed his distraction, pulled him aside after a meeting. Everything okay at home? Define okay. That bad, huh? She closed her office door. Look, I know the situation with you and Victoria is unconventional. Half the office has figured out it's not a traditional marriage. But whatever arrangement you have, it seems to be falling apart. That obvious? She's been sleeping in her office for 3 days. You look like you haven't slept at all. And the tension when you're both in meetings? Patricia shook her head. Fix it. I don't care how, but fix it. Because this company needs both of you functional. On day 5, Victoria finally came home. Daniel heard her car in the driveway at midnight, heard her footsteps in the hall, pause outside Lily's room, then continue to her own wing. He found her in the kitchen an hour later. She looked exhausted. Still in work clothes from 3 days ago, hair falling out of its ponytail, the kind of tired that came from avoiding sleep. You can't keep doing this, Daniel said. I know. Lily thinks you left because of her. I know that too. Victoria poured herself water with shaking hands. I'm terrible at this. I told you I would be. You told me you'd try. I am trying. This is me trying. I just don't know how to do it without destroying everything. Daniel leaned against the counter. What are you so afraid of? Getting attached, caring too much, and then having to leave because that's what the contract says. She set down the glass. My father taught me that emotions are weaknesses, that the moment you care about something more than the business, you lose. I've spent my entire life believing that. And then you and Lily came along and suddenly I can't remember why that made sense. So stop believing it. It's not that simple. It is, though. You just decide. You decide that caring about people isn't weakness, that Lily matters more than a board meeting, that this, he gestured between them, whatever this is, it's worth more than a contract. Victoria looked at him, and he saw real fear in her eyes. What if I fail? What if I try and I still can't do it right? Then you fail, and you try again. That's what parents do. We fail constantly. The job is showing up anyway. I don't know if I can show up the way she needs. There's one way to find out. Victoria closed her eyes. The board meeting is in 4 days. I know. If I cancel, they'll ask questions. Wonder about my priorities. My uncle will use it against me. Let him. You'll handle it. You always do. She opened her eyes. You're asking me to choose her over the company. I'm asking you to choose her, period. The company will survive. The question is whether you will. The silence stretched between them. Daniel waited, giving her space to make the choice. Finally, Victoria pulled out her phone. This is Victoria Langford. I need to speak to James about rescheduling next week's board meeting. Pause. Yes, I know it's midnight. Wake him up. This is important. She made 3 more calls, rearranging meetings, shifting schedules, doing what Daniel had said was impossible. When she finished, she looked smaller somehow, vulnerable. I'll talk to her tomorrow, Victoria said quietly. Apologize properly. Ask if she still wants me at the school thing. She'll say yes. She's been asking about you every day. I don't deserve that. No, but she's giving it anyway. That's what family does. Victoria looked at him sharply. We're not family. Aren't we? I know what the contract says. I know what we agreed to. But look around, Victoria. We eat dinner together. We talk about our days. Lily asks you for help with homework. You teach her about life. We fight about parenting decisions. If this isn't family, what is it? I don't know. She sounded lost. I don't know what this is anymore. Daniel moved closer, close enough to see the exhaustion in her face, the fear she was trying to hide. Maybe that's okay. Maybe we don't need to define it. Maybe we just need to stop fighting it. The contract says we divorce in 4 months. So we change the contract. Did Daniel, or we don't. Maybe we see what happens. But right now, today, we stop pretending this is just business. Because it stopped being business the moment Lily started calling you family. Victoria's composure finally broke. She pressed her hands to her face, shoulders shaking, and Daniel realized she was crying. Actually crying. He'd never seen her cry. I don't know how to do this, she whispered. I don't know how to be what she needs. What you need. You don't have to know. You just have to try. He pulled her into a hug, awkward at first, then real. She held on to him like he was the only solid thing in her world, and maybe right now, he was. They stood there in the kitchen at 1 a.m, holding each other, and Daniel felt something shift. The walls between them, carefully constructed and maintained, finally coming down. The next morning, Victoria knocked on Lily's door before school. Daniel watched from the hallway as his daughter opened the door, saw Victoria, and immediately looked wary. Can I come in? Victoria asked. Lily shrugged. Not yes, not no. Victoria took it as permission. Daniel started to follow, but Victoria caught his eye, shook her head slightly. This was something she needed to do alone. He went downstairs, made coffee, tried not to listen to the murmur of voices from above. 20 minutes later, they both came down. Lily was holding Victoria's hand. Victoria's coming to Mother's Day, Lily announced. She cleared her whole schedule. That's great, baby. And she said sorry for being mean, and I said sorry for calling her names. What names? I called her a mean robot lady, in my head. Not out loud. Victoria's mouth twitched. I've been called worse. But you're not a robot. You just didn't know how to show feelings right. We're working on it. We are, Victoria agreed. Lily hugged her again, quick and fierce, then grabbed her backpack. Come on, we're going to be late. After Lily bounded out to the car, Daniel approached Victoria. How'd you do it? Fix things that fast? I told her the truth, that I was scared, that I didn't know how to be what she needed, that I'd never had a mother who showed me how. Victoria grabbed her own bag. She said that was okay, that we could figure it out together, and then she asked if we could have pancakes tomorrow. Apparently forgiveness comes with breakfast requirements. With Lily, it usually does. They stood there, and Daniel saw something different in Victoria's face. Less guarded, more open. "Thank you," she said, "for pushing me, for not letting me run away. That's what partners do. Is that what we are? Partners?" Daniel thought about the question, about contracts and arrangements and all the careful language they'd used to avoid saying what this actually was. "Yeah," he said finally. "I think we are." Victoria nodded, something like relief crossing her face. "Good. Because I have no idea what I'm doing, and I'm going to need help." "Join the club. None of us know what we're doing. We're all just making it up as we go." They drove Lily to school together, walked her to class together, watched her run off to join her friends, already chattering about the Mother's Day presentation. In the car on the way back, Victoria said, "I'm scared I'm going to disappoint her, that I'll try and it won't be enough." "You will disappoint her. That's parenting. The question is whether you'll stick around to fix it." "I'm not leaving." She said it firmly, like a decision. "I know what the contract says. I know we're supposed to divorce in 4 months, but I'm not walking away from her. From this." "From this," Daniel repeated. "You mean the family thing?" "I mean all of it, whatever this is." She glanced at him. "I'm not good at this, at feelings, at being vulnerable. But I'm trying. That has to count for something. It counts for everything." They drove in silence for a while. Then Victoria said, "Tell me about Sarah, really tell me. I want to understand." So he did. Told her about meeting Sarah in college, how she'd been everything he wasn't. Spontaneous, warm, open. How they'd built a life together. Had Lily been happy in the messy, complicated way real people were happy. How the cancer had come fast and taken her faster, leaving him with a daughter and debt and grief so heavy he could barely breathe. "She made me better," Daniel finished. "Made me kinder, more patient. She saw good in everyone, even when it wasn't there." "Do you wish she was here instead of me?" The question surprised him. "That's not how it works. I'll always miss her. Always wish she could have seen Lily grow up. But that doesn't mean I wish you weren't here." "You're being diplomatic. I'm being honest. You're different from her. But different isn't bad. You challenge me differently. Make me think differently. And Lily needs different things now than she needed when Sarah was alive." Victoria was quiet. Then, "I think I would have liked her. Your wife. She would have liked you too. She always appreciated people who said what they meant. Even when what they meant was terrible? Especially then. She hated fake nice, preferred real mean." Victoria almost smiled. "I can do real mean. I've noticed." They pulled into the driveway, sat in the car for a moment, neither quite ready to go back to work, back to the real world where things were complicated and contracts had end dates. 4 months, Victoria said quietly. "That's when we're supposed to end this." "I know." "What happens then?" "I don't know, but I think we have some time to figure it out." "What if we can't?" Daniel looked at her, this brilliant, complicated woman who'd somehow become essential to his life. "Then we fail. Together. As partners." Victoria met his eyes. "I don't want to fail." "Then let's not." It wasn't a solution, wasn't even a plan, but it was something. A choice to keep going, to see what happened when they stopped fighting what this was becoming. They went inside together. Victoria to her study, Daniel to his office. But the distance between them felt smaller now, like maybe they'd finally stopped being strangers playing house and started being something real. Whatever that something was, they'd figure it out. They had to, because walking away now would destroy all three of them, and Daniel wasn't willing to let that happen. Not when they'd come this far. Not when there was still time to choose something different. Mother's Day at Brookside Elementary was everything Lily had promised, and more. The classroom was decorated with construction paper flowers and crayon drawings, and every child sat with their mother, or in Lily's case, the woman who was learning how to be one. Victoria arrived in jeans and a sweater, looking more nervous than Daniel had ever seen her before a board meeting. She sat in a chair too small for adults, surrounded by actual mothers who knew what they were doing, and listened as Lily read a poem she'd written. "My mom is smart and teaches me things. She has ice eyes but a warm heart. She doesn't hug a lot, but that's okay because when she does, it means more. She came today even though she had important work because I'm important too. She's not like other moms, but that's good because I'm not like other kids. We're learning together, and that's better than perfect. Victoria's hand went to her mouth. Daniel, standing in the back with the other fathers, saw her blink rapidly, fighting tears. The other mothers were smiling, dabbing at their eyes with tissues. Miss Roberts looked like she might cry too. After the presentation, Lily ran to Victoria and hugged her hard enough to nearly knock her off the tiny chair. "Did you like it?" "It was perfect," Victoria managed, her voice cracking. "You're perfect." "I know." Lily grinned, completely unaware of the emotional devastation she'd just caused. "Miss Roberts says I have a gift for poetry. She says I see things other kids don't. Can we get ice cream to celebrate?" "Absolutely not. It's 9 in the morning. But it's Mother's Day." "Fine, ice cream, but you're eating actual lunch first." "That's basically a no." Lily's face fell in that dramatic way 6-year-olds had perfected. "Fine, ice cream now, but vegetables for dinner." Lily squealed and ran off to show her friends that her mom had actually come, that she was real, that everything she'd written in the poem was true. Daniel approached Victoria, who was still sitting in the too small chair, looking shell-shocked. "You okay?" "She called me her mom. In the poem, multiple times, she called me her mom." Victoria's hands were shaking slightly. "I didn't expect that. I thought maybe she'd say Victoria, or my dad's wife, or something distant, but she said mom." "Yeah, she did. We're not, the contract says, Victoria." Daniel knelt beside her chair, took her trembling hands in his. "Stop thinking about the contract for 5 seconds and just feel this. She loves you. You love her. Everything else is details we can figure out. What if I can't be what she needs long term? What if this is temporary and I ruin her when it ends? What if it doesn't end? What if you can?" Before Victoria could answer, Lily dragged them both to meet Miss Roberts, who gushed about how wonderful it was to finally meet Lily's mother. And wasn't it amazing how much Lily had flourished since the beginning of the year? And had they considered the advanced reading program, because Lily was reading at a 4th grade level and showing exceptional comprehension skills? Victoria handled it perfectly. Shifted into professional mode, asked intelligent questions, took notes on her phone, promised to research the program and discuss it with Lily. She was in her element, problem-solving, planning, organizing. Just this time, it was for Lily instead of the company. For family instead of profit margins. They got ice cream at 10 in the morning because Lily had them both wrapped around her finger and knew it. Found a shop 3 blocks from the school, sat at a picnic table outside despite the morning chill, watching Lily chase pigeons between bites of chocolate with rainbow sprinkles. "I rescheduled the board meeting," Victoria said, watching Lily try to get within 5 feet of a particularly bold pigeon. "For next week." My uncle complained. Said I was getting soft, losing my edge, becoming sentimental. "What'd you say?" "I told him my priorities had changed, that the company would survive one rescheduled meeting, that there were more important things in life than quarterly earnings." Victoria took a bite of the vanilla ice cream she'd claimed she didn't want but had ordered anyway. He didn't take it well, started making threats about calling a board vote, questioning my leadership. "He can try. The board loves you. Half the board loves me. The other half tolerates me because I make them money. If my uncle can convince them I'm distracted, not focused, putting personal life over business." She trailed off. "I could lose everything." "Not everything. You'd still have us." Victoria looked at him, and Daniel saw real fear in her eyes. "What if that's not enough? What if I give up the company for this and then it all falls apart anyway?" "Then we rebuild, together." "But Victoria, you can't live your whole life afraid of losing things. At some point, you have to choose what matters." "I'm not good at choosing. I'm good at controlling, planning, managing risk. This?" She gestured between them, toward Lily laughing at the pigeons. "This is all risk. No control. No guarantee. Yeah, that's what makes it real." Lily ran back, breathless and covered in pigeon feathers somehow. Daniel had no idea how she'd gotten that close. Can we go to the park? Please, please, please. There's one 2 blocks away and Sarah's mom said they have the best swings in the whole city." They went to the park, spent the afternoon pushing Lily on swings that were allegedly the best in the city, though they looked like every other swing to Daniel, building castles in the sandbox with towers that kept collapsing, playing tag until all 3 of them were breathless and laughing. being a normal family, doing normal things. The kind of things Daniel had done with Sarah and Lily years ago, before cancer stole that possibility. The kind of things he'd thought he'd never do again. But here he was. Different partner, same joy. Daniel caught Victoria smiling, really smiling, not the professional version she used at work, while Lily explained the intricate politics of the sandbox kingdom she was building. Some kid named Trevor was apparently the villain because he'd knocked down her tower yesterday, and now she was building walls to keep him out. That's just going to make him want to knock it down more, Victoria said, kneeling in the sand in her expensive jeans without hesitation. Trevor sounds like he wants attention. If you build walls, you're giving him a target. So what do I do? Build something he wants to be part of. Make it so good that destroying it would be stupid. Then invite him to help. Victoria started constructing a moat. People protect things they help create. It's basic human psychology. Are you teaching me about business or sandcastles? Both. The principles are the same. Lily considered this, then started building a bridge across the moat. You're really smart, Mom. Victoria froze. Mom. Not Victoria. Mom. I try, she managed. I'm glad Daddy married you. You make everything better, even sandcastles. Daniel watched Victoria struggle to hold it together, saw her blink away tears, saw her take a shaky breath before answering. I'm glad he married me too. On the drive home, Lily fell asleep in the back seat, exhausted from sugar and sunshine and the best Mother's Day a 6-year-old could imagine. Victoria drove, one hand on the wheel, the other resting near Daniel's on the console. Not touching, but close. Close enough that when he moved his hand over, their fingers tangled together naturally. Thank you, she said quietly, not looking away from the road. For today. For pushing me to come, for not letting me hide behind work, for making me show up. Thank you for showing up. It meant everything to her. It meant everything to me too. Victoria's grip tightened on his hand. I didn't expect that. Didn't expect to feel this much. When she called me Mom in front of all those people, I thought I'd panic, thought I'd feel trapped or overwhelmed, but I just felt grateful, like she gave me something I didn't know I wanted. Feelings are inconvenient that way. Extremely inconvenient. She paused, navigating through traffic. The contract expires in 3 months, 92 days technically. We should probably talk about that. Yeah, we should. But not today. Not today, Daniel agreed, squeezing her hand. They drove home in comfortable silence, and for the first time since this whole arrangement started, Daniel let himself imagine what it might look like if they didn't end it. If they chose each other for real, not because of contracts or desperation or legal requirements, but because they actually wanted to. Because somewhere in the past 6 months, this fake marriage had become the most real thing in his life. The thought terrified and thrilled him in equal measure. The board meeting the following week went exactly as badly as Victoria had predicted. Daniel heard about it from Patricia, who'd been in the room as executive counsel and came to his office immediately after, looking shaken. It was brutal, Patricia said, closing his door and sitting down without being asked. Marcus went after her, hard, said she's compromised by her personal life, that marrying you was a distraction, that she's not the leader they need anymore, that she's let emotions cloud her judgment. What'd Victoria say? She laid out every success from the past 6 months. The fraud discovery, which you found, by the way, she made sure to credit you specifically. The expansion into Pacific Northwest that brought in $30 million in new revenue. The acquisition that closed last month under budget and ahead of schedule. Revenue up 18% year over year. Employee retention at an all-time high. Client satisfaction scores through the roof. She buried him in data. Did it work? For now, but he's not done. He's gathering support for a vote of no confidence, trying to prove she's unfit to lead. And Daniel? Patricia leaned forward, voice dropping. Between you and me, the marriage timing doesn't look great. Whirlwind romance right when she needed to be married to keep her inheritance? People are asking questions. Daniel felt ice spread through his stomach. What kind of questions? The kind that wonder if it's real, if you're real, if this whole thing is a setup to circumvent her father's will, if she paid you to marry her. Patricia held up a hand. I'm not saying I believe it. I've watched you two together. I've seen how you look at each other, how you are with Lily. But Marcus is planting seeds. And if he can prove the marriage is fake, contractual, paid for, Victoria loses everything. The company, her inheritance, her reputation, everything. It's not fake. The words came out harder than he intended. I know that. You know that. But can you prove it? Patricia's expression was sympathetic. Look, I'm telling you this because you need to be prepared. Marcus is going to come after both of you, your relationship, your credibility, your finances, everything. He'll dig through bank records, interview your friends, talk to people at your old apartment building. You need to make sure your story is airtight, that there's nothing for him to find. After Patricia left, Daniel sat in his office, staring at nothing, feeling panic rise in his throat. The contract was in a safe at home. Legal, binding, and completely damning if anyone ever saw it. Proof that this had all been an arrangement, that Victoria had paid him, that everything Marcus suspected was true. They'd been careful, but careful might not be enough. He found Victoria in her office that evening, working through papers with the kind of intense focus that meant she'd been at it for hours without break. Coffee cup cold on her desk. Reading glasses she only wore when her eyes were tired. The kind of exhausted determination that had probably built her company but was slowly destroying her health. Patricia told you, she said without looking up. Yeah. My uncle's going to destroy this. Destroy us. He'll find the contract somehow. Or he'll dig until he finds proof we married for convenience. The money transfer, the timeline, everything. She set down her pen, finally meeting his eyes. And then it's over. Everything I've built. Gone. So we make it real. Victoria stared at him. What? We make it real. We tear up the contract. We stay married, not because of your inheritance or my debts or any practical reason. Because we want to. Because this stopped being fake months ago, and we're the only ones still pretending. Daniel, that's insane. Is it? We're already living like a married couple. We have been for months. We eat dinner together. We parent Lily together. We talk about our days. We fight and make up. We sleep in the same house, share the same life. The only difference is a piece of paper that says it's temporary and another piece that says it was always fake. There are a lot of differences. Name one. One real difference between what we have now and an actual marriage. But Victoria stood, started pacing. I don't love you. I care about you. I care about Lily. But love? The kind of love people build real marriages on? I don't know if I'm capable of that. I don't love you either. Not yet. Daniel moved closer. But I could. And I think you could too, given time, given the chance, given permission to stop fighting it. What if we fail? What if we try this for real and it falls apart? What if I'm too broken, too damaged by my father, too incapable of the kind of vulnerability marriage requires? Then we fail. But at least we'll have tried. At least we'll have given this thing, whatever it is, a real chance instead of killing it because we're scared. Victoria turned to face him, and Daniel saw the war happening behind those ice-blue eyes, logic versus feeling, control versus risk. Everything she'd been taught her entire life versus everything she'd learned in the past 6 months. I don't know how to do this, she whispered. I don't know how to be someone's wife for real, someone's mother. I don't have a template for this. My mother left. My father was emotionally absent. I don't know what real marriage looks like. Neither do I. Sarah and I figured it out as we went. Made mistakes, fixed them, made more mistakes. There's no perfect way to do this, Victoria. There's just showing up and trying. That's terrifying. Yeah, it is. But you're terrified of everything worth doing. You were terrified to reschedule that board meeting, and you did it anyway. You're terrified every time Lily calls you mom and you don't run away. Being scared doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means it matters. Victoria crossed the space between them in 3 steps, stood close enough that Daniel could see the exhaustion in her face, the fear, but also something else. Something that looked like hope. If we do this, she said, voice barely above a whisper, if we really do this, there's no going back. We burn the contract, we commit, all in, for real. I know. You could find someone better, someone easier, someone who knows how to love without a manual, someone who isn't broken. I don't want someone better. I want you, broken pieces and all. I want the woman who teaches 6-year-olds about venture capital and sits in tiny chairs at school presentations. I want the CEO who rearranges her entire schedule for Mother's Day. I want the person who's trying so hard to be good at this, even though it scares her to death. Her breath caught. Why? Because you're brilliant and difficult, and you challenge me every single day. Because you sat on a bathroom floor with my scared daughter and made her feel safe without having any idea what you were doing? Because you rescheduled a board meeting, something the old you would never have done, just to make Lily happy. Because you're trying so hard to be good at this, even though it terrifies you. He touched her face, gentle, giving her space to pull away if she wanted. Because somewhere along the way, this stopped being an arrangement and started being my life. And I don't want to give that up. I don't want to give you up. Victoria closed her eyes, leaning into his touch. I'm going to disappoint you. I'm going to choose work over you sometimes. I'm going to be bad at emotional things. I'm going to forget important dates and say the wrong thing and be too blunt when I should be gentle. I'm going to fail at this constantly. And I'm going to overthink everything and be too cautious and probably mess up Lily's childhood in a dozen ways I can't predict. I'm going to compare you to Sarah sometimes, even though that's not fair. I'm going to be scared of losing you the way I lost her. We're both going to fail, constantly. But we'll fail together. Together, she repeated, testing the word. That's what you want? Real partnership? Not the contract kind? That's what we already have. I'm just asking to make it official, to choose it instead of letting it happen by accident. She opened her eyes, searched his face for something, doubt maybe, or insincerity. The contract says we have 3 months left, 92 days. Forget the contract. I can't just forget. Daniel kissed her. It wasn't planned, wasn't smooth or practiced, was probably the worst timing possible given everything happening with her uncle and the board. But he did it anyway. And after a second of surprise, Victoria kissed him back. Her hands came up to his chest, not pushing away but holding on, gripping his shirt like he was the only solid thing in her world. And Daniel felt something slot into place that had been misaligned for months, maybe his whole life. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Victoria looked stunned. Well, she managed, that was unexpected. Good unexpected or bad unexpected? I'm not sure yet. I need more data. But she was smiling, actually smiling. Do it again, for scientific purposes. So he did. And this time, when they broke apart, Victoria was definitely smiling, and there were tears on her face, and she looked more real than he'd ever seen her. Okay, she said, voice shaking. Okay, we'll try this. For real. No contract. No safety net. No expiration date. Just us. As a family, as a marriage, as whatever this becomes. Yeah? Yeah. She took a shaky breath. But we need to tell Lily. She deserves to know what's happening, what this means. That we're choosing to stay not because we have to, but because we want to. Agreed. Tomorrow? Tomorrow. Over pancakes. She makes better decisions with pancakes. They told Lily the next morning over a breakfast that included not just pancakes, but also bacon, fruit, and orange juice. The full treatment that signaled important family discussion. So you're staying married for real? Lily asked, syrup on her chin, fork hovering over purple-tinted pancakes Victoria had made with food coloring because apparently she'd been paying attention to Lily's color preferences. Not just pretend. Daniel and Victoria exchanged glances across the table. They'd stayed up late last night, planning this conversation, trying to figure out how to be honest without confusing or scaring her. When we got married, Victoria started carefully, using the voice she used when explaining complex things to Lily. We did it for practical reasons. Your dad needed help with money. I needed a husband for legal reasons related to my company. It was supposed to be temporary, like a business arrangement. But now it's not? Lily's face was serious, processing. Now we want it to be real. We want to choose each other, choose to be a family, not because we have to, but because we want to. Victoria's voice was steady, but Daniel could see her hands shaking slightly under the table. If that's okay with you. Lily set down her fork, looked at both of them with those brown eyes that were too wise for 6 years old. Do I get a vote? Absolutely, Daniel said. This affects all three of us. Your opinion matters. Then yes. I vote yes. I vote for us being a real family. She picked up her fork again, apparently satisfied. I like it better this way anyway. I like that you both come to my school things. I like that we eat dinner together. I like that Victoria teaches me stuff and doesn't treat me like I'm little. I like that Daddy smiles more now. I like being a family. Even though Victoria and I aren't like other parents, we argue sometimes. We're still figuring things out. We make mistakes. All parents argue. Sarah's parents argue about literally everything. What restaurant to go to, what movie to watch, who forgot to buy milk. It's so annoying. And Tommy's parents got divorced last year, and now he has 2 houses and 2 Christmases and 2 of everything, which sounds confusing. Lily took another bite of purple pancake. But you don't yell mean things when you argue, and you say sorry after. And Victoria doesn't leave even when Daddy makes her mad. That's what Sarah's dad does. He leaves and drives around for hours. But Victoria stays and talks about it. That's better. Victoria's eyes were wet. She reached across the table, took Lily's small hand in hers. You're very wise for 6. You know that? I know. Miss Roberts says I have exceptional emotional intelligence for my age group, which I think means I'm smart about feelings. Lily grinned, showing teeth with syrup between them. Can I tell my friends at school that I have a real mom now? Not just kind of a mom, but a real one? Victoria's composure cracked. One tear escaped, then another. You can tell them whatever you want. Cool. Sarah's going to be so jealous. Her mom doesn't know anything about business or how to build the perfect sandcastle fortress. Lily squeezed Victoria's hand. I love you, Mom. I love you too, Victoria whispered, and Daniel saw her realize she meant it, really meant it, not just saying words to make a child happy, but actual, terrifying, real love. Lily bounced in her seat, apparently satisfied with how this conversation had gone. Can we get a dog now, since we're a real family and real families have dogs? Absolutely not, Victoria and Daniel said in perfect unison. Lily sighed dramatically. Worth a shot. Can I at least get a hamster? Still no. You guys are no fun. Sarah has a hamster and a dog. Sarah's parents are braver than us, Daniel said. After Lily left for school, still lobbying for pets, Daniel and Victoria sat at the table surrounded by syrup sticky plates and the remains of their important family discussion. We need to destroy the contract, Victoria said, staring at her coffee. Completely. No copies, no digital files, nothing. It can't exist anywhere. If Marcus finds it, tonight, we'll burn it. Every copy. I have one in my office safe, one in my lawyer's office, one in my home safe. You have one somewhere? Bedroom drawer hidden under old tax returns. Very secure, Victoria said dryly. I didn't think I'd need Fort Knox. I thought we'd divorce in a year and go our separate ways. Shows what we know about planning. She stood, started clearing dishes. I'll call my lawyer, tell him to destroy his copy. We'll burn the rest tonight. Very dramatic. Seemed appropriate for the occasion. Victoria actually laughed, and Daniel realized he'd do just about anything to keep hearing that sound. We're really doing this, turning a fake marriage into a real one. That's insane. Most good things are. They spent the evening gathering every trace of the contract. Victoria's office safe held a copy in a manila folder labeled Personal Hayes. Her home safe had another, along with financial documents they'd need to reorganize now that the arrangement was changing. Daniel's bedroom drawer held his crumpled copy, creased from where he'd reread it a dozen times in the early days, trying to convince himself this was a good idea. At midnight, they burned it all in the fireplace. Watched the pages curl and blacken, watched their careful legal arrangement turn to ash. No going back now, Victoria said, watching the flames. Good. I don't want to go back. She leaned against him, and they watched the fire until the last ember died. The confrontation with Marcus came 2 weeks later, faster than they'd expected. He showed up at the house on a Saturday morning unannounced, brought a lawyer in an expensive suit, and demanded to see them both immediately. Mrs. Kim, the housekeeper, tried to stop them. Miss Langford is with her family. It's Saturday. You need an appointment. This is family business, Marcus said, pushing past her into the living room where Daniel, Victoria, and Lily were building a blanket fort that had gotten wildly out of control. Victoria, we need to talk, now. Lily looked up from where she was arranging pillows. Who are you? I'm Victoria's uncle, Marcus Langford. The mean one Daddy talks about? Daniel winced. Victoria's mouth twitched toward a smile. Marcus turned red. Lily, go play in your room, Victoria said, standing. The adults need to talk. But we're not done with the fort. Now, please. Lily recognized the tone, grabbed her stuffed animals and left, but not before glaring at Marcus in a way that suggested she'd already formed opinions about him based on overhead adult conversations. After she left, Victoria crossed her arms. You have 5 minutes, Marcus, and next time call ahead. I know what this is. Marcus gestured between Victoria and Daniel. I know this whole marriage is a sham. You needed a husband to keep your inheritance. He needed money. It's textbook fraud, a contractual arrangement masquerading as a real marriage. That's a serious accusation, Victoria said, voice cold. It's the truth, and I can prove it. Marcus nodded to his lawyer, who pulled out a folder. We've been investigating. Your husband's financial situation before the marriage, drowning in debt, behind on rent, collection agencies calling constantly. Then suddenly, days after the wedding, everything's paid off. Signing bonus, Victoria claims. Very convenient. I got promoted, Daniel said. Signing bonuses are standard for executive positions. At Langford Industries? For internal promotions? Unusual, but not impossible. The lawyer flipped through papers. But the timing is suspicious, as is the speed of your courtship. You met at a company party, married 2 weeks later. That's not romance, that's desperation. That's none of your business, Victoria said. It is when it affects the company I have a stake in. When it proves you manipulated your father's will, committed fraud to maintain control. I didn't manipulate anything. I got married. The will required marriage. I complied. Who I married and why is my personal business. Marcus smiled. It wasn't pleasant. Then you won't mind if we subpoena your financial records, bank statements. The marriage contract I know exists. We'll prove this is fake, that you paid him, that this whole thing is fraudulent, and then the board will have no choice but to remove you. Good luck with that, Daniel said, stepping forward, because you won't find anything. No contract, no paper trail. Just two people who got married, are raising a daughter, and are building a life together. Who you expect me to believe? I don't care what you believe, Marcus. Neither does Victoria. You can investigate all you want. Subpoena whatever you want. You won't find what you're looking for because it doesn't exist. Not anymore. Marcus's eyes narrowed. Not anymore. Interesting choice of words. We destroyed the contract, Victoria said calmly. Weeks ago. Every copy. It's gone. All you'll find is a marriage license, joint financial accounts, a house we live in together, a child we're raising together. That's it. You're lying. Prove it. The lawyer looked uncomfortable. Mr. Langford, without physical evidence of a contract, without documentation of fraudulent intent, we don't have a case. Suspicious timing isn't evidence. A signing bonus isn't evidence. We'd need the actual contract, proof of payment for marriage services, something concrete. Then we keep digging. Someone knows something. An employee at the courthouse, a lawyer who drew up papers. Someone talked. Someone always talks. No one talked because there's nothing to talk about, Victoria said. This is real, Marcus. Whether you believe it or not. My marriage is real. My family is real. And you trying to destroy it because you can't accept that I'm a better leader than you'll ever be? That's pathetic. This isn't over. Yes, it is. Victoria walked to the door, opened it. You've been trying to undermine me for 3 years. It hasn't worked yet. It won't work now. The board trusts me. The shareholders trust me. And my personal life is exactly that. Personal. Get out of my house. For a long moment, Marcus just stared at her, then at Daniel, then at his uncomfortable lawyer. We'll see what the board says when I present my evidence. What evidence? A marriage you don't approve of? Suspicious timing? That's not evidence of anything except your own prejudice and desperation. You're losing, Marcus. You lost the moment Dad chose me over you, and you've been trying to get revenge ever since. But it's not going to work. Not now. Not ever. Marcus left, taking his lawyer with him. After the door slammed, Victoria sagged against it, all the strength draining out of her. That was terrifying, she whispered. Daniel pulled her into his arms. You were incredible. I was faking. I have no idea if he can actually prove anything. He can't. We destroyed every trace of the contract. The money you gave me was documented as a signing bonus. Completely legal, completely justified by my actual performance. Our marriage is legal. We live together. We're raising Lily together. There's nothing fake about what we have now. But what if he keeps digging? What if he finds something we missed? Then he finds it. But all he'll find is us, living our lives, being a family, making this work. Daniel tilted her face up. We're not lying anymore, Victoria. This is real. Everything we told him is true. Let him investigate. He'll just prove we're telling the truth. She kissed him, hard and desperate. I love you, I think. I'm still not entirely sure what love feels like, but if it's this terror and joy and complete inability to imagine my life without you in it, then I love you. Daniel smiled against her mouth. I love you too, definitely, no question. How are you so sure? Because you scare the hell out of me and I keep choosing you anyway. Because I watch you read bedtime stories to Lily and my heart feels too big for my chest. Because you burned a contract that protected you just to choose us. That's love, Victoria. Terrifying, irrational, completely illogical love. Lily appeared at the top of the stairs. Are you guys done being mushy? Because the fort collapsed and I need help rebuilding it. It's a structural integrity issue. Using big words doesn't make us more likely to help, Daniel called up. Worth a shot. Are you coming or not? They spent the rest of the day rebuilding the fort, this time with better structural support, as Lily insisted, and pretending that Marcus's visit hadn't shaken them. But that night, after Lily was asleep, Victoria admitted her fears. What if he's right? What if the board doesn't believe this is real? What if they remove me anyway? Then we deal with it. You're brilliant, Victoria. You could run any company. Start your own. Do something completely different. You're not defined by Langford Industries. My father built that company. It's his legacy. If I lose it, then you build your own legacy. A better one. One that includes things besides work, includes family, includes life. The board vote happened 3 weeks later. Marcus presented his case in a special session he'd called specifically for this purpose. Victoria let Daniel sit in the gallery, not speaking, just there for support. He watched her face the firing squad with the same calm competence she brought to everything. Marcus went first, laid out his case. Victoria was distracted, compromised, not focused on the company. Her whirlwind marriage was suspicious, the timing convenient. Her new husband's sudden financial windfall questionable. She'd changed, become soft, emotional, no longer the ruthless leader the company needed. She'd rescheduled important meetings for school events, left work early for family dinners, put personal life ahead of professional obligations. She's not the leader my brother trained her to be, Marcus concluded. She's not the leader this company needs. I move for a vote of no confidence. The room was silent. Daniel watched Victoria stand, walk to the front of the room, and face the board that would decide her future. My uncle is correct, she said, voice clear and strong. I have changed. 6 months ago, I worked 18-hour days, 7 days a week. I had no personal life, no relationships, nothing beyond this company. I was exactly what my father trained me to be. Efficient, cold, completely alone. And I was miserable. She looked around the room. Then I got married, had a family, started coming home for dinner instead of eating takeout at my desk, rescheduled meetings to attend school events, started having a life beyond these walls. And you know what happened to the company during this period of my alleged distraction and incompetence? She pulled up slides, numbers, data, hard facts. Revenue increased 22%, highest growth in 5 years. Employee satisfaction scores up 30%. Turnover down by half. We've closed 3 major deals that were stalled for months. We've expanded into 2 new markets ahead of schedule and under budget. We've acquired our biggest competitor and integrated them seamlessly. Client retention is at an all-time high, and we've weathered a massive fraud scandal discovered by my allegedly distracted husband, I might add, with minimal damage and actually improved our reputation in the process. She let the numbers sink in. This company isn't suffering because I have a personal life. It's thriving because I'm happier, clearer, better rested, less likely to make decisions out of exhaustion or stress, because I have people who depend on me to be my best self. So I work harder to actually be that person, not just for 18 hours and then collapse, but sustainably, effectively, as a leader, not a martyr. She turned to face Marcus directly. You think caring about people makes me weak, that having a family is a distraction, that emotions are liabilities. You're wrong. They make me stronger, more focused, more capable, more human. And if this board can't see that, if you truly believe that a leader has to choose between having a life and doing their job well, then maybe I'm leading the wrong company. The silence was absolute. Then Patricia Chen stood. I move to table the vote of no confidence. The evidence suggests the exact opposite, that Victoria's leadership has never been stronger. I second, said another board member. Then another. The vote was 10-3 against Marcus. Not even close. Marcus stormed out. Victoria stayed calm, professional, thanked the board for their time, and continued confidence. But Daniel saw her hand shaking when she gathered her papers. He waited for her in the hallway, pulled her into an empty conference room, and held her while she finally let herself fall apart. It's over, she said, crying into his shoulder. It's really over. He can't touch us anymore. No, he can't. I almost lost everything. The company, my reputation, you, Lily, all of it. Because of him. Because of one bitter man who couldn't accept that someone else was better. But you didn't lose it. You fought for it. And you won. They stood there in the conference room, holding each other, until Victoria's breathing steadied and the tears stopped. Let's go home, she said. I promised Lily I'd help with her science project tonight. What's the project? Building a model volcano. Apparently she wants it to be the best volcano in the history of volcanoes. Her words. Yes, Daniel laughed. Of course she does. They went home, helped Lily build an absurdly elaborate volcano that took over the kitchen table, got covered in papier-mâché and paint, laughed until their sides hurt when the eruption test went sideways and sprayed vinegar and baking soda lava all over the floor. It was perfect. Messy and chaotic, and nothing like the controlled, efficient life Victoria had led before, and she loved every second. 1 year after the courthouse wedding, they went back. Not because they had to, because they wanted to. This time they did it right. Real ceremony, real vows, real choice. Daniel wore a suit that actually fit, tailored, expensive, the kind of thing he'd never imagined owning. Victoria wore a dress the color of winter sky, simple and elegant, with her hair down the way he liked. Lily wore purple, obviously, and carried a small bouquet of flowers she'd picked out herself. Patricia was there. Daniel's old friends from his previous life, the ones who'd stood by him through Sarah's death. Victoria's few close colleagues who'd become friends. Mrs. Kim, Miss Roberts. A small group of people who mattered, who knew the real story, who'd watched them build something impossible. The judge was the same one from a year ago, smiled when he saw them. Back again? Back again, Victoria confirmed. This time we mean it. I should hope so. Ready? They stood at the front of the small courthouse room, holding hands, and said vows they'd written themselves. I take you to be my partner, Victoria said, voice steady despite the tears. Not because a contract says I have to, not because it's practical or logical or makes business sense, but because you make me better, because you taught me that caring about people isn't weakness, because you show up every day, even when I'm difficult, because you gave me a daughter I didn't know I wanted and a family I didn't know I needed, because I choose you every day for the rest of my life. Daniel's turn. I take you to be my partner, not because I need saving or fixing or financial security, but because you challenge me to be better than I thought I could be, because you love my daughter like she's yours, because you're brilliant and difficult and real, because you chose us over everything you'd been taught to value, because somewhere along the way you became essential to my happiness. I choose you, today and always. Then by the power vested in me by the state, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Again, for real this time. The judge grinned. You may kiss. They did. Lily cheered. Everyone applauded. And Daniel felt something settle in his chest, the last piece of uncertainty finally gone. This was real. This was permanent. This was his life. The reception was small, held at the house, their house, with too much food and too many toasts and Lily running around with the other few children there, showing off her purple dress and telling everyone about her two moms because apparently Sarah was still her mom too, and that was fine because families could be complicated. Late in the evening, after most guests had left and Lily had fallen asleep on the couch mid-conversation, Daniel and Victoria stood in the backyard, watching stars. "We did it," Victoria said. "Took the fake marriage and made it real. Against all odds, against all logic. Best business decision you ever made?" "Best decision I ever made, period." She leaned against him. "I still don't fully understand love. It's inefficient and illogical and completely impractical. It makes me make choices that don't make sense on paper. But I don't care anymore. I love you. I love Lily. I love this ridiculous, messy, wonderful life we've built together. And I wouldn't change any of it. Not even the hamster Lily's definitely going to convince us to get eventually." "We are not getting a hamster." "We're absolutely getting a hamster. She's been researching care requirements. She has a presentation prepared. She's using pie charts, Daniel. She learned that from me." "You've created a monster." "I've created a negotiator. There's a difference." Victoria turned to face him fully. "Thank you for not giving up on this. On us. For pushing me to try even when I was terrified. Thank you for letting me push. For choosing us when it would have been easier not to." They stood there holding each other under the stars, and Daniel thought about how impossible this all was. How a year ago he'd been drowning in debt and grief, working a job that didn't challenge him, raising his daughter alone. How Victoria had been isolated in her success, defined entirely by her work, incapable of connecting with people. How a fake marriage born of desperation had somehow become the most real thing in either of their lives. It didn't make sense. It was messy and imperfect and built on a foundation that should have crumbled. But it worked. They worked. And that was enough, more than enough. It was everything. Inside, through the window, they could see Lily asleep on the couch, surrounded by the remains of the party. Their daughter. Their family. Their life. "We should get her to bed," Victoria said. "In a minute. I want to stay here a little longer, with you, like this." "Like what?" "Like we're just two people who chose each other. No complications, no history. Just us." Victoria smiled. "We'll never be just us. We come with complications and history and a 6-year-old who's determined to get a pet. But I think I prefer it this way." "Yeah. Yeah. Simple is overrated. I'll take complicated and real over simple and fake any day." They went inside together, carried Lily to bed together, tucked her in together, purple blankets and stuffed animals, and all the evidence of a childhood that was chaotic but loved. "Good night, baby," Daniel whispered. "Love you, Mom and Dad," Lily mumbled, half asleep. Victoria froze, then smiled. "Love you too." They left her there, dreaming whatever 6-year-olds dreamed, and went to their own room. Not separate wings anymore. Not separate lives. Just together. As partners. As family. As people who'd found each other in the messiest way possible and somehow made it work. The contract that had started everything was ash. The fake marriage was real. The arrangement was a life. And if you'd asked Daniel a year ago whether any of this was possible, he would have said no. Would have said it was too risky, too complicated, too likely to fail. But that was before Victoria. Before family. Before learning that the best things in life were the ones that didn't make sense on paper, but felt right in every way that mattered. They'd started as strangers with a business arrangement. They'd become partners, then family, then something neither of them had words for, but both of them felt. And that was enough. More than enough. It was everything they'd never known they needed and exactly what they'd been looking for all along.